In today's video, we're going to be comparing the Jester versus the Jester Classic. So I think now we can finally properly compare these two vehicles, as the Jester Classic has gotten a significant upgrade from when it was supposed to be released about a couple months ago, and now that they're both in the sports class, it's way easier to compare. So we're going to be breaking down these two sports cars today, and I'll be letting you know which one is the best. So let's start with our barrier to entry, and that is going to be price. The Dinker Jester Classic has a price of $790,000, which for sports cars nowadays isn't terrible, but it is actually the most expensive of the options we're looking at today. Because the regular Jester, even though it was released a long time ago, is only $240,000. So you've got a significant price difference right there. And even if you were to upgrade to the race car version of the Jester, which was released about half a year later, it's only $350,000. So you're still about $400,000 cheaper, depending on which model you ultimately go for. So by far the cheaper of the two options today is going to be the Jester and the Jester race car. In fact, you could buy the Jester race car and the normal version of the Jester, and it would still cost less combined than the Jester Classic. So that just shows you how expensive this vehicle is, at least when you compare it to its modern counterpart. Now, what about performance of these vehicles? Let's start with just the Jester versus the Jester Classic. So in a straight drag race like this, it's very obvious that the regular modern Jester is the quicker and faster version. It has better acceleration and better top speed, which I guess would make sense for a more modern vehicle. Like, it really isn't even close, not even for a second at the start. The Jester is just way faster than the Jester Classic. Now, what happens if we add the race car variant of this vehicle into the mix? How do things change? Well, it doesn't really change all that much. In case you guys don't know, the difference between the race car version of the Jester and the normal version of the Jester is supposed to be just a livery design. However, Rockstar made it slightly faster. It performs a little bit better. So let's actually run it through that drag race right now. And you guys can see that the Jester is slower than the race car version of the Jester, and the Jester Classic is still the one that lags behind the most. So in terms of price, it's more expensive, and in terms of performance, it is way worse. So far, two strikes going against the new Jester Classic. Now, the last thing I wanted to test speed-wise with this vehicle was just compare the Pariah, which is the king of sports cars, to both of these vehicles. So what we did is we took a Jester race car, the faster of the two versions of Pariah and my Jester Classic, and we raced them. And kind of surprising at the start, the Jester race car has great acceleration, but the Pariah's top speed is lethal, like supercar lethal. And over the long run, it was able to outrun the Jester and, of course, my Jester Classic. It just left it in the dust. And outrun is an understatement. Like, it literally destroyed it. So even though it's fast, it's not Pariah fast. Now, what about customization? That's really the last thing we can compare with these two vehicles, because everything else is the same. They come from the same manufacturer. They are the same car, essentially. One is just a modern version. One is a old school version. They both hold the same amount of players. They're both in the sports class. So really, it does come down to customization, and I am going to give the slight edge here to the Jester Classic. So the Jester and the Jester race car both have good customization, especially for cars that came out in 2015, but it's nothing that compares to the modern style customization of the Jester Classic, which has bumpers and spoilers and splitters and exhaust and roll cages and things you can do to the grille. And on top of that, it has 10 unique liveries, including 2 Fast and Furious references, which is bonus points, and I think looks pretty cool, and it's this design that you guys are looking at in this video today. So it's kind of hard to fault the regular Jester that came out in 2015, because I think Rockstar was still trying to figure out if they wanted vehicles to have liveries, which is why the Jester race car version actually got it. But at the end of the day, the Jester Classic still has way better customization than both of those cars combined. So it is a huge plus. So now let's do an overall review of the Jester Classic and how it compares to the Jester. Basically, it's worse in every way except customization, but that customization is a big part of it. So it's pretty clear you won't be using this in sports car races, but at the same rate, you won't be using the Jester or the Jester race car in sports car races either, because the Pariah, as we showed you, is so much better. So does it really matter that the Jester is faster than the Jester Classic? So if that's the case, you're really just comparing price and customization. Price is clearly better on the Jester, but customization, in my opinion, clearly better on the Jester Classic, with its ability to make multiple Fast and Furious movie cars and lots of cool designs that you just don't see on an older car from 2015. So I don't know, guys. I'm actually going to leave the decision up to you. Which do you think is better, the Jester Classic or the Jester? For me, there are pros and cons to both, and I really think it depends on what you buy a car for. If you buy it purely for performance, then it's the Jester. If you buy it for more than that, it's definitely the Jester Classic. So let me know your thoughts, opinions, and more in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. We like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.